this year I wanted to start branching into other areas that interest me on this channel, and so I'm hoping that's what this video is going to be. It's going to be the first of what I hope will be many videos that center around different things that interest me in my life aside from books. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys one of my favorite things, and that is classic films, and in particular some of my favorite classic films. Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a great day. I am here today with a non-book related video. As I said in the intro, this was something that I wanted to start doing more of this year. And one particular area of interest for me is classic films. My mom shared her love of classic film with me. She loves watching old movies. I grew up watching TMC all the time, and we still do. And so I've got a lot of old movies that I really enjoy, so I kind of compiled a list of some of my favorites. None of these are in any particular order because I absolutely hate ranking things, but they're definitely some of my favorites that I can think of off the top of my head that I always look forward to watching again and again. And some are a little bit more modern than others, but most of these are older, like 30s, 40s, 50s. So I will share with you guys now some of my favorite classic films. Also, I realized while compiling the list that a good chunk of these were actually Cary Grant movies, and I didn't want to put, I realized I was going to be putting a lot of Cary Grant movies on this list, so I didn't put some of those on this list, even though they are my favorite movies, because I want to do a separate favorite Cary Grant film video, because this video is literally going to be almost completely Cary Grant movies. Didn't realize how many of his I love, but apparently a lot. So I've included some of those on here. So there are a few more films that I really enjoy, but I didn't want to include on this list because they are all Cary Grant. So I'm going to save them for that Cary Grant video. So without further ado, let me share with you guys some of my favorite classic films. So the first one I want to talk about is one that I have talked about a lot on my channel, particularly during Christmas time, and it is one of my all-time favorite movies, and that is The Bishop's Wife, starring Cary Grant, David Niven, and Loretta Young. This is a Christmas film. It takes place at Christmas time, and it centers around this bishop of a Protestant church and his wife, and he prays one day because he wants help to build his church. So an angel ends up appearing, and that of course is Cary Grant, but he ends up helping everybody around David Niven, including his wife, who is played by Loretta Young. And basically, eventually, David Niven's character begins to realize just how little time he is giving towards his family and his friends, and how kind of cold and distant he has become, kind of through Cary Grant's actions as the angel. And it is just an amazing movie. I love this movie so much. It features one of the most gorgeous Christmas trees you will ever see. It's funny, it's sweet, it's heartwarming, it's sad, and I definitely recommend it for anybody who loves Christmas and Cary Grant and David Niven and Loretta Young, because it's like a great cast. Also, fun fact, the movie actually had to start being reshot, so they got a new director, but when the movie started, Cary Grant was actually playing the David Niven role, and David Niven was playing the angel. And then the new director switched the actors around, and I can't even imagine it another way right now. So that was a fun little bit of trivia for anybody who was curious. The next movie that I want to tell you guys about is The Thin Man, which it really includes any of the Thin Man movies. There was, I think, somewhere between 8 and 10 of these made between the 30s and the 50s. They feature William Powell and Myrna Loy, and they're based on a set of novels, actually like detective novels. So William Powell is like this retired detective, but he still kind of solves cases on the side, and his wife, who's played by Myrna Loy, helps him, and they're hilarious. They're kind of suspenseful, they're humorous, and they're just a lot of fun. The first one came out in 1934, and it's probably one of my favorites. It's just a lot of fun. Plus their dog is fantastic. Their dog will kind of help him. I can't remember the dog's name, but the dog is hilarious. It's like this little terrier, and I love these movies so much. Each movie centers around a different mystery that he's having help solve, a different crime he's having help solve, and then also kind of follows their life, so from the time they're married, and I think the last ones kind of feature their son, who's a little bit older and stuff, so, and they're in color as well. So definitely a fun series of movies to check out. I love the Thin Man movies. They're extremely entertaining, and I never get tired of watching them. The next movie I want to talk about is another Cary Grant movie, and that is The Awful Truth, which stars Cary Grant and Irene Dunne, and the same dog that is in the Thin Man movies. I love this movie. It features a couple that is starting divorce proceedings. They've decided that they've had enough of each other, and in the middle of the divorce proceedings, they're trying to get a divorce from each other. They start to kind of undermine each other's attempts to find romance, and it is hilarious. Hilarity ensues as they both are clearly jealous of the other's romantic interests, and it is just the perfect pairing. Irene Dunne and Cary Grant are wonderful in this film. It's a lot of fun. It's really humorous, and another one I would definitely recommend checking out. The next movie I have to tell you guys about is one of my favorite Judy Garland movies, and that is Meet Me in St. Louis from 1944. I love this movie. The movie takes place in 1904, and it features 4 daughters and the Smiths family, centered around the time of the World's Fair in St. Louis. This movie is great. It's definitely a comedy, and it has some dramatic moments. Judy Garland is fantastic in it. I love, 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 love this movie. Little Margaret O'Brien is in it, and she will make you cry like she often does in her movies when she cries. It also is the movie where Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas comes from. from. This was the first time it was sung, and it was made for this movie. It also features Marjorie Main as one of the maids. A lot of you might know her as Ma Kettle from the Ma and Pa Kettle movies. It also has Mary Astor and Leon Ames playing the mother and father, and it's definitely a very fun movie. It is a musical, and it's probably one of my favorite musicals. I just love it to bits. It makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Plus, it's just such a lovely movie, and Judy Garland is fantastic in it. The next movie I have to tell you guys about is another Cary Grant movie because, as I said, he's one of my favorites. One of my favorite classic actors, and I can't help but include all of his movies on this list, apparently. Anyway, that movie is Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, which features Myrna Loy and Cary Grant. And it follows a husband who is an ad executive living in New York City with his wife and 2 daughters, and then they decide that they want to move to the country. So they take on this project, this house that is basically dilapidated, needs a lot of work, and to make it their own home in the country. The movie is hilarious. It is a lot of fun. Cary Grant is fabulous in this movie. I love all the different quirky characters in the film that are working on his house. It has some really great lines. My favorite, of course, is when Myrna Loy's character, the wife, is trying to tell the painters what kind of house colors she wants, and she is very specific about them because she doesn't want just yellow, she wants sunshine yellow. She doesn't want red, she wants apple red. Things like that. And then when the scene is over, the 2 painters are like, "Did you get that?" "Yeah." Red, yellow, green, blue. It's just stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. It's really funny. It's another one that's kind of heartwarming, and it's just fantastic because every Cary Grant movie is fantastic. Seriously, it's just, he really is. The next movie is a Jimmy Stewart movie, and that is Harvey. This was made in 1950 and stars Jimmy Stewart as a man who has an imaginary 6-foot-tall rabbit named Harvey. He can see him, nobody else can see him, so everybody thinks that he's insane, and the story goes on from there. It's a comedy drama, and I just love this movie so much. Jimmy Stewart is really, really, really great in this movie, and it definitely has some very funny moments as well as some very sad moments, and I haven't watched it in forever either. I need to rewatch it soon. It's been far too many years, but it's definitely one of my favorite Jimmy Stewart movies. He's excellent in this movie. The next film is one of my favorites. It's very well known, and that is Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. It is a film that was made in 1958 based on the Tennessee Williams play, and it has a large cast, a very famous cast: Burl Ives, Paul Newman, and Elizabeth Taylor. But I love this movie. It is a family drama, and it centers around Brick, who's an alcoholic football player who is basically ignoring his wife, who is played by Elizabeth Taylor, but he has to return home because his father is dying of cancer. His father is also like basically an abusive jackass. But the film is so good. It is so well acted. It is an amazing film and play. Tennessee Williams did a great job with this one. I absolutely love it. So if you like family dramas and you love Paul Newman, Elizabeth Taylor, and Burl Ives, because who doesn't, then you will enjoy this film. I definitely recommend it. It's the perfect mix of drama and a little bit of romance, and I think the family drama setting itself is done really, really well. So definitely another one of my favorite films. The next film I have to share with you guys is Barefoot in the Park from 1967, starring Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. I really, really like this movie. It features a young couple in New York City. It features around a highly conservative lawyer in New York City who marries Corey, who's played by Jane Fonda, who's kind of this lively, quirky character, and they basically move to this high-rise apartment building, and it basically features all of the antics that go on in this apartment. There's a lot of crazy things. Kind of have a crazy neighbor. Corey's mother's a little bit kind of kooky. It's a comedy romance film. It's definitely one of my favorite Jane Fonda films, and I really, really recommend it if you haven't checked it out already. The next film is another Cary Grant movie, and that is Suspicion. This is made in 1941, and it is an Alfred Hitchcock film. It features Cary Grant and Joan Fontaine. Joan Fontaine plays this young heiress who ends up marrying this kind of bad boy character who's played by Cary Grant. She falls in love with him and they end up getting married, but she soon harbors some suspicions that he may be actually trying to kill her. So she is trying to deal with the fact that this man that she loves could actually be trying to kill her for her money and warring against that and his affections, and it is so well done. It is probably one of my favorite Alfred Hitchcock films, because Cary Grant and Joan Fontaine, I mean, come on. And it is just so well done. It is very, very much suspenseful, and the whole movie, you really are just sitting there wondering, is he going to do it? Is he trying to kill her? Is this really happening? So it's definitely very well done. It's impeccably filmed and impeccably acted. And so if you're looking for kind of a drama, suspicion, suspense movie, I definitely recommend Suspicion by Alfred Hitchcock. The next movie I had to tell you guys about is a movie from 1967, and that is Wait Until Dark, starring Audrey Hepburn and Alan Arkin. This features a young woman who has recently been blinded, who is alone in her apartment because her husband has to leave, when this trio of thugs begin terrorizing her because they're trying to look for this heroin stuffed doll that was basically planted in her luggage when she had returned home. This movie is so well done. Audrey Hepburn is epic in it. Alan Arkin is super, super creepy in this film. He's so young in this movie, but he is so creepy, and he does it so well. He does like this thug mob boss kind of guy. character really, really well. It's definitely suspenseful, and it's kind of a mystery, and it was amazing. It was actually the first movie I ever saw with Alan Arkin as a kid, and I remember being so engrossed in it. I don't even know how old I was. Might have been like 11 or something, but I remember being like so glued to the screen as my mom and my sister and I were watching it, and Alan Arkin's voice in it is really creepy. Oh, he's so good in this role. Sorry, I just forgot how much I like this movie. So another one, if you like suspense movies and you like Audrey Hepburn Arkin, then I suggest checking this one out. The next movie is another one from 1967, and that is To Sir with Love, starring Sidney Poitier. Love Sidney Poitier, and I love this movie. Sidney Poitier is a teacher that moves to London, England. He has to go and teach in this kind of rough neighborhood of East London, this group of unruly students who are part of gangs and other things. Kind of like Blackboard Jungle that he was in, only when he was playing one of the unruly students. Except for in this one, he's the teacher. This movie is excellent. I love Sidney Poitier. He does an amazing performance in this movie. He's excellent in this role as a teacher and kind of guiding these students and helping to set them on the right paths in life, and I love it so much. Also, fun fact, it stars Patricia Rutledge when she's extremely young. Some of you who also like British television may recognize her from Keeping Up Appearances, where she plays Hyacinth Bouquet / Bucket. So she's another teacher at this school, and it's just really great seeing her in this role. But this is another one that I really, really love. It's an excellent movie, and how can you not love Sidney Poitier? The next movie I have to share with you guys is a Doris Day film from 1966, and that is A Glass Bottom Boat, starring Doris Day, Rob Taylor, Paul Lynde, and Dom DeLuise. Love this movie. It features a young woman whose father runs this glass bottom boat where she used to have to pose as a mermaid, so people are in the boat and then she like swims under the boat and they see a mermaid. But she soon ends up getting this job at this aerospace research center, and she kind of starts an unlikely romance kind of a thing going on with Rod Taylor, but pretty soon Paul Lynde, who's the security guard there, suspects that she might actually be a spy for the Russians. Rod Taylor's trying to woo her, while Paul Lynde is like this fumbling security guard trying to frame her for like being a spy, and then Dom DeLuise comes into it, and there's a lot of like slapstick comedy. It's really, really great. I love Doris Day and Rod Taylor together. The movie is just a lot of fun, particularly just for Paul Lynde and Dom DeLuise, because I love both of them, and together they're hilarious. So this is definitely one of my favorite Doris Day films, and I love it so much. If you're looking for a really fun comedy movie, I recommend this one because it has a great cast and it has a lot of really classic comedy moments. Alright guys, those are some of my favorite classic films. I could go on forever. There's a lot. I've had a really hard time trying to choose some, so I just tried to choose some of my favorites off the top of my head. You'll have to let me know if you have seen any of these and what your thoughts are on them. If you have any classic films that you enjoy, let me know down below and we can talk about them, because I like old classic movies. They're just, I don't know, there's something about old classic films that you just don't have anymore. They had a certain charm and the acting was just so good, and I love them, guys. So anyway, those are some of my favorites, but I hope you guys enjoyed hearing what some of my favorites are. So until my next video, guys, have a great one, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!